What's good, everybody? Nate Dizzy here from SSL, and we've had a lot of questions. We're always like starting these new competitions, and people ask us how we do scoring, and I wanted to give an example, take you through a score sheet. Now, I want to make this video concise, so this particular main focus of this video will be about averages or means versus medians when it comes to scoring. A base I'll give you a base overview of like the scoring system in general, and then I mainly want to talk about why we use median versus mean. So without further ado, let's get right into it. What you're looking at here is a score sheet, and I took this from the best tricks section that we did, and I believe, and we've had no complaints, that this was an example of fair judging. So I'm going to use it as an example as such, and you'll see that, the scores are pretty close to each other generally, meaning that the judges agreed generally on the scoring. So yeah, the way I broke this down is that you have here on the left, you have the players. I've removed all names because it's just irrelevant. You have the names of the players here. Player 1, 2, 3, and so on. You have the rounds. So each one, there will be 6 rounds for each player. And that's because that's what it is in Best Trick. There's 6 rounds. The 3 highest scores count to your totals. And I actually have, because you wouldn't see this generally, on a live stream or something, but we have the judges and their individual scores. Here for judge 1, 2, and 3, we have 3 judges. Then I have the median judge. This just lets you know which judge's score was the median value, and I totaled that up below if you want to stop and look at this. This basically just shows that when you have fair judges, there is a proportionate amount of scores per judge. Sun is shining on me quite bright. I hope that's not distracting. Okay, after which judge got the median score, I have the median score here. I've got the average score before rounding, and then I've got 3 forms of rounding. We have the standard method, which is if the digit that we're rounding, so in this case 8.86, the rounding digit would be the 6. If that digit, because we're trying to get to a single decimal point, if that digit's 5 or above, it would be rounded up. If it's 4 or below, it would be rounded down. In this case, it's 6, which is 5 or above, which would go up to an 8.9. You can also choose to just round down. So I have that here, and you can choose to round up. Those would make small discrepancies within a decimal point or two, depending on the particular average. So that's about it. At the end here, we have totals, and I have the total for median, average standard, average down, and up. I'm only really going to discuss average standard because it's represented in all the data that the result's the same, basically. So that's a breakdown of kind of how the scoring's done as we go. A synopsis of my findings in analyzing several score sheets across periods of time was that results are the same if all judges are fair in both median and average. So basically the results don't change. The differences between players, basically there's an even distribution of how it changes. And you can see that if you pause, look at the scores, look at what they would have been in average, what they would have been in median, you'll find that the placement stays the same. In fact, in this case, the differences are within a point, and it's consistent. So everyone went down a point other than player 4, who had particularly close scores for both. Their median score was almost always the average, almost exactly. So within like a point. But in any case, the result was the same. The closest here is, and this was already close, as you can see, it was within 1.2, it ended up being within 0.3 here, or 1 and 4, as you can see. But either way, it didn't actually change the results. So results are the same in median with one bad judge. With average, the results can be swayed. And that's what we're going to get into now. I have a second sheet here, which is the exact same sheet, but this is assuming that one of the judges is not necessarily fair or is not objective. So I recognize that this could represent one judge having a subjective view of certain things being better than others, but this does assume on this particular sheet that I drew up that the judge is nefarious and that they're sacking and boosting scores in order to change the results. You could make the argument, oh, that judge thought this was better, but we can't get into those kind of games. I mean, we can kind of try to do investigations, but there will be never any evidence. And because of the results being that that median gets rid of this whole problem, that's why we've chosen to stick with median and push back on anyone who thinks we shouldn't do it. So first off, just explaining what happened here, all I did was change the scores given to be higher because they are preferring player 1 to win. So we're assuming that judge number 1, okay, wants player 1 to win. Now, player 1, if you remember, came in second place. Okay. So on all 3 of these scores here, which he was given, he boosted them by an average of under 2. So, 1.5, 1.8, etc. Now, I do realize that this one is a little bit over that in this case, but it's this was really more shown to do a point because you could have one crazy judgment. And I do want to say that generally speaking, no matter what we do, one judge can't sway things. But I want to make the point that they can under averages if they have one extreme wacky score that can throw off the whole results. Because they can make an excuse like, oh, I thought this and I thought that. So that's a little bit more than 2, right? But all of the sacking that was done under a difference of 2 points. So 1.8, 1.5, etc., like I said before. So basically, and this person did not really have to sack anybody but player 3. So here, their scores still look very reasonable. Here, their scores look very reasonable. But here, they sacked, and they sacked within 2. So they could say, oh, I just don't really like that style, etc. And if we go down here, you can pause, you can take a look at exactly what I changed and how it changed the averages versus how it changed the median. We find that under median scoring, you would have still seen player 2 receive second place. Because the sacking / boosting judge was not able to affect the results as much. But in the case of mean or averages, he was able to sway the results such that player 1 became the winner of this tournament, or at least of this section of the tournament. And across another, because there would be another 5 rounds, another 2 scores would have been included. He could have really solidified that and it wouldn't have been so close. But you can see here, this is an example of how averages can give a single nefarious judge who maintains his or her plausible deniability, I will add. Because if they don't care about plausible deniability, then the jig's up. They can absolutely just slam this, slam that, give them 0s or 1s or whatever. Now, go ahead and take a look at this yourself. If you have any questions or whatever, let me know. We're open to communication. We have the receipts, meaning we have everything recorded. We have the back end, we have the front end, we have the judges scoring that's closely guarded and protected. The actual chat where this occurs, it's saved. We can always go back. We keep this for the reason that we don't want any question that we're doing absolutely everything in order to maintain the security of the results and also the accuracy of the results. So if you have any questions or whatever, absolutely, you can personally DM, you can ask in the Discord in Full Tilt or SSL, and you can also comment under this video. I want to finish up here with just a little talk about exactly this and that, about kind of how we think about, or how I think about the difference between the median and mean, because we know here that the results are mostly the same in mean or median, but that the results can be changed if we have a nefarious or highly subjective judgment. We do everything we can to ensure that we're pulling judges from the community of the game that we are running contests with, and that they are knowledgeable, skilled enough, or at least knowledgeable enough to accurately score the game. Judging can be difficult, though. Judging can be it could be just as hard as being in the competition. We have to make very quick decisions and all this stuff, and be watching and judging and making sure that we're accurate and all this all at once. But we have to bring in new people at some point. So that's part of median, is that we can always have 2 legacy judges, with the exception of brand new games being added. We can have 2 legacy judges alongside a new judge. And this makes it so that if the new judge is on point and they're, within reason in terms of subjectivity, or not nefarious, then their scores will be proportionately counted and whatever. But if they're throwing a 10 for this guy and a 0 for this guy every time, that score shouldn't be counted. We shouldn't be able to have that. We value the greater perception over the individual perception. This is because we want to make the most number of people happy, and we want the most number of people to be able to agree with this. With median, it basically kind of identifies where the majority is in terms of distribution of scoring. And so we value that's the question of accuracy. Do you want to be accurate to what these judges scored it, which includes a lot of individual subjective preference, or do you want to be accurate to the general distribution of what the majority of people, i.e. 2/3, would call this score? I could do more examples, but if you want the statistics of it, and I would say go to a statistician, because I am not that. I'm a self-taught high school dropout. So I do understand this. I've taught myself this. I've looked into this, and I've actually crunched the numbers myself enough to know that if the results would be changed, then it's highly subjective. That's the bottom line. And that's about it. Again, if you have any questions, if you have any more ideas, or if you have disagreements, we want to hear it. We are trying our best. We want to do our best, and we want to hear from you. And we will consider. This is not a guarantee that we will change things. We will look at them, though. We will honestly check it out. But sometimes the average person is not a statistician, so they won't know exactly the differences. And I wanted to make that. Personally, I did not know the difference until I looked into it. I assumed average, just the way as a lot of people do, or mean, would be the best way to do it. And then upon further investigation and thought and analyzing actual results of tournaments, I realized that it's probably better in terms of making the most people happy with the scores we give and being accurate to the general perception, the general, as little subjective as possible, to go with the median scoring. And that's about it. So I really appreciate everyone who is involved in our contest. We love this. We enjoy doing it, beyond measure, and we really appreciate you guys and for having us be the people who throw your contests and things like that. And we appreciate the community and everything. We love you guys, and I hope you're having a great day. And I'll catch you next time. Later.